Yo guys, what's going on? This Rose here, bringing us a brand new video here for IBL Week 4, facing against one of my good buddies in the draft community, Sthkippy, coach of the Steel City Surge. I am super excited to bring this to you guys. One of my good buddies, like I said, brought him over from the WPF. I reached out to him towards the tail end of the regular season for WPF and wanted to see if he was down to join, and he accepted. So I'm super excited to have him in IBL this season. Go ahead and show him and the rest of the coaches down below some love. Make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button for everybody involved. And without further ado, let's get right into the matchup. With this matchup this week, it's a tough matchup because Sthkippy has Rain with Palafin, Iron Treads, Terra Torn-T, Archaludon, Hatterene. He's got Pelipper, he's got Terra Arboliva, Hisuian Quillfish, Barraskewda, and Terra Beartic. Full disclosure, I had not a lot of time this week to build, so one of my buddies, a couple of my buddies built my team for me this week, along the fact that I just was not feeling very good for some time this week. It was like a whole thing. So I apologize for that portion of it. So I pretty much got the lowdown of this team only a couple hours before game time, full disclosure. But I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Thriller and my buddy Collin for prepping this team for me this week. Huge shout out to them. Really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into what we're bringing and why we are bringing it. First up, we have Inspect Rear, our Spectrier, with 156 defense, 124 special attack, 228 speed, modest nature, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Shadow Ball, and Mud Shot with the Colbur Berry. The speed pretty much outspeeds most of this team. We're not going to be outpacing a max speed Torn, but that's not what's expected this week. We're expecting a Torn-T that's going to try and outspeed Ogerpon, so we're kind of speed creeping that, and that's going to be the common theme for a lot of our speed creeps this week. So modest nature, and then the 156 defense allows us to hit just that little tiny bit better. Nothing crazy, so like potential knockoffs and stuff. Or hits from like Hisuian Quillfish, Barraskewda, stuff like that. Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Shadow Ball, and Mud Shot. Pretty, like I said, pretty straightforward. I don't touch Arboliva if it doesn't Terra. That's the only issue. But honestly, we're expecting that to be the Terramon this week. As a Terra captain, that thing's actually very scary for my team to deal with and very hard for my team to deal with. Because outside of a couple mons, I really don't deal with it very well. And some of those mods just don't match up very well this week. So hopefully Spectre can put in some work in the tail end of this game. Hopefully it's able, hopefully we're able to put this mon in a position to win this week. And one of those mons that's hopefully going to be able to do that is Ogerpon, Wellspring, Cry About It. We're running max attack, Adamant Nature, 144 defense, 106 special defense with a little bit of HP, Adamant Nature, Sword Stance, Superpower, Woodhammer, Ivy Cudgel. Realistically, in this game, I don't need speed because Archaludon is not going to be really running a whole lot of speed. Palafin, I don't think is going to need to run a whole lot of speed. I'm not going to outspeed the Treads anyway. I'm not going to outspeed the Torn anyway. I'm not going to outspeed Barraskewda anyway. So for me and my team, well, I could technically outspeed the Treads, but I just don't see my team. They didn't think that that was really going to be an issue in this game. So no speed, we're just going to be focusing on bulk in this game. And honestly, Ogerpon, after a +2, there's no switch in to this mon. Ivy Cudgel pretty much goes unresisted. I understand there are a couple of water types, there's a grass type, there's a dragon type, but in the rain, at +2, Ivy Cudgel hurts this team. And pretty much everything that is resisting the Ivy Cudgel is either weak to Woodhammer or neutral to Woodhammer, or it's weak to Superpower in the case of Archaludon. So it's like, or in the same thing in the case of the Arboliva. But honestly, Arboliva's not going to want to take a +2 rain boosted Ivy Cudgel anyway. So like, does it really matter? Honestly? But Ogerpon does so much damage in this game. It's going to hit super hard. And very excited to see it pop off for us in this game. Next up, we got Ting-Lu the 5th with the Citrus Berry this week. We're running 196 HP, 60 attack, rest and special defense with a careful nature, Earthquake, Rocks, Ruination, and Whirlwind. Kind of a straightforward Ting-Lu this week. Rocks are pretty free. against my opponent's team. Obviously, it has the Hatterene for hazard deflection and rapid spin off of the treads. But outside of that, rocks are just they're very nice in this game. I don't know if the Torn should run boots because it's a Torn, but Sthkippy is one of those guys like myself that doesn't always run the optimal thing, do or die. So we'll see what Sthkippy wants to run in this game. Citrus Berry is just in case for some certain roles, in case of maybe an offensive Pelipper, in case of certain Torn T rolls, stuff like that. And same thing with the Arboliva. Earthquake, pretty free into my opponent's team. I mean, obviously he's got the double flying, and then he's got the grassy terrain off of the Arboliva. Hopefully we can kind of, mitigate that disaster. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, pretty straightforward Ting-Lu. Nothing too crazy this week. Next up, we are running the Paper Hater, the Banded Scizor this week, with 248 HP, 252 attack, 8 speed, and an adamant nature. Realistically, this mod is just going to click buttons with U-turn, close combat, bullet punch, and then defog, just in case we have the option to get rid of hazards. At least we have that hazard removal this week. U-turn, close combat, bullet punch hits everything for neutral or super effective. The only exception being Pelipper. Every move on my Mon here is going to be resisted by Pelipper. However, Banded U-turn is still doing 35%. So what the hell do I care? Honestly. I mean, I'm doing half to that fucking Torn. I don't give a shit. There's not a lot that really switches into this Mon. Yeah, if I lock into Bullet Punch, Sthkippy can bring in the Archaludon for pretty much free. And that's okay, because I have things on my team that deal with that Archaludon. I have the Ting-Lu, which is kind of like a Archaludon check in this game, right? So it's totally fine. Scizor is going to pop off in this game because, quite frankly, I don't care if something is resisted. With Banded Scizor, nothing is a resist, so it's fine. But yeah, Banded Scizor pops off in this game. It just hits everything for so much damage. It's very hard for my opponent to switch into it this week. Hopefully we can pop off with Scizor this week. Next up, we have Migraine, the Uxie with the Rocky Helmet. Pretty straightforward on the set this week. Max HP, max defense, relaxed nature, Thunderwave, Thunderbolt, knockoff U-turn. Thunderbolt is just in case it is a sub Palafin. That way we can break through that and mitigate that a little bit. Knockoff, U-turn, pretty straightforward, just for a disruption, momentum bringing Uxie, and then Thunderwave just in case we can get a para off on Torn T or Barris Yutas, take some chip off of that and make that much less of a threat. Same thing with a potential rain offensive Hisuian Quillfish, or Calidons potentially. Palafin would be really nice to get a para on. So Uxie's job this week is pretty much to just create disruption, to create a lack of progress for my opponent, hopefully. And then last but certainly not least, we have certainly a set of all time. So, this is what happens when I give my friends full reign on building my shit. This is what happens. I get Wind Power Kilowattrel, Terra Water, with sub T-Bolt Hurricane Endeavor. From what I understand about this mon, this is a way to beat Iron Treads? What? If I knew, I'd tell you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I knew, I would tell you. 196 special attack, 172 special defense, 140 speed with a timid nature. The speed, just like Spectrier, is just for the Torn T trying to creep the Ogerpon. T-Bolt Hurricane, basically outside of Treads, is relatively free. I mean, Treads and Archaludon are definitely the switch-ins to this thing. But outside of that, it hits decently hard. Sub is to basically force myself low enough to where I can weaken down the Treads to basically nothing. That or the Archaludon, whichever I can do that against. Yeah. This is a Kilowattrel of all time. Again, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. But hopefully we can pull a win out this week. Hopefully we can get onto a 3-game win streak if we win this week. which is amazing. We lost week 1. We've won the last 2 weeks. Hopefully we can win here in week 4. And I will see you guys for the battle in just a second. Peace out. Yo guys, what's going on? It's Rose here, bringing you guys IBL versus Sthkippy for week 4. I apologize that this is post-com. My Switch dock decided to fucking just die. So Sthkippy had to send me his footage, and I can, now do this. So thank you to Sthkippy for that. I really appreciate it. Very rough matchup for me, right off the jump, but we're gonna lead off with our Ting-Lu. So what's interesting here, right? In the original game, so we actually had to recreate this game. I apologize for like the movie maker stuff, but this is where we are today. In the original game, because we actually had to recreate this game, like I said, we actually ended up leading, he led Torn, I led Kilowattrel, but, we actually both ended up switching on that first turn. So we ended up just saying, you know what, forget that, we're just gonna scrap that first turn, and we're just going to lead this, because if we're just gonna double switch anyway, what does it matter? As you see here, he's gonna be switching, into his Arbalava, and I'm gonna click Ruination this turn. Mostly just because, like, I really wanted to be able to get some damage off. I didn't expect him to stay in with his treads, and I thought Arbalava could be something I can get some damage off on. And I get about half. I see these leftovers, which is nice, and I see that he also has the Seed Sower. Not entirely surprising. I kind of figured that he was going to be Seed Sower. I mean, Harvest could have come, but because of his rain team, I didn't think that was too likely. We're going to switch into our Scizor here, just because offensively we pressure this Mon so much. And he is going to predict that and click Strength Sap here. Which kind of sucks, because I am Choice Banded Scizor, if you guys did not watch my team builder before the game. So I really would have loved that damage. On this turn here, he's going to switch into his Pelipper, and I'm going to click that U-turn and U-turn into my Kilowattrel. Just because once I see that Pelipper, I want to be able to force it out as much as possible. And so I know that going into Kilowattrel, because of the set that I have, completely invites in Iron Shreds, but I don't really have a choice here, I feel like. I feel like I have to go Kilowattrel just to force out that Pelipper. And he is going to be switching into that Iron Shreds. I'm going to be clicking Hurricane, doing effectively no damage. I do get the Confusion, which kind of sucks, because in the original game, did not get the Confusion, so I was just like, you know what, let's just keep doing it. If he ends up hitting himself in Confusion, we'll restart. But I didn't want to have to recreate, because I've had to do games where, against Collin in the PBAL, I had to recreate like 15-20 times on Showdown. Against, I want to say it was Nova in PPL, we had to recreate like 3 or 4 times because of stuff like this, where it was like a burn, or, a crit that didn't happen, stuff like that. So, he is going to be clicking Rapid Spin, I believe, on this turn. Yes, he's going to click Rapid Spin on this turn, get his speed boost, as I switch into my Scizor. Not doing too much damage. I basically recover that because of the what's it called? The grassy terrain. He's going to click Volt Switch here. I'm going to be clicking U-turn, just because I want to be able to get some momentum. I'm slower than this Mon, so I know that if I can get some momentum here with Scizor, we are golden. And he does bring in the Tornadus. I'm going to be U-turning, as you can see. And now he knows that I'm Choice Banded. Me doing 40% to Torn Team with a U-turn should not be happening, but here we are. And I'm going to be bringing in my Ogre Pod. I am going to just Terra Ivy Cudgel on this turn, because at this point, even Archaludon does not really want to take this. It takes like 40% almost from the Terra Ivy Cudgel in the rain. So, like, I'm just not worried about that at all. I just want to click a button, get my damage off, and just do as much as humanly possible here. As you can see, we're going to be seeing the Ivy Cudgel on the Archaludon switching in. God, I love this animation. It looks so good. It looks so good. And Embody Aspect is such a broken ability, by the way. Like, it's actually kind of insane. It's like old school, like, Sword of Ruin. Or, Intrepid Sword, I think, is what the... Yeah. Get the stamina boost. We see that he's stamina. Nothing crazy here. We see the leftovers as well, which might tell us that maybe he's not like a super, offensive set. We are going to click Superpower here, because when I originally calced this, I thought that it killed, but I didn't calc for his +1. So he lives on just a smidge, and he's going to get up his rocks here, which definitely sucks. On this turn, he actually is going to be swapping into his Pelipper, because on this turn, he doesn't want to take that superpower and lose his Archaludon. He wants to swap into something that can basically take that hit. I predict that, and I click Sword Stance, because at that point, there's not very much that wants to switch into a +1 Ogerpon. +1 because of the attack drop from before. And then I Wood Hammer, bopping the Pelipper into just out of his existence, into space, doing a ton of damage. Ogerpon is so much fun. I love it. He's going to bring in the Torrentee again. And I know for sure that I cannot, under any circumstances, stay in. I wanted to keep this as healthy as possible. So I swap into Ting-Lu on his Terra into Nasty Plot. So Terra is obviously so that way he can resist the Ivy Cudgel and the Wood Hammer. So he knows my full set at this point. So there's no surprises that I can give him at this point. The Terra animations in this game are fantastic. Amazing. He's going to click Nasty Plot here. I bring in my Ting-Lu. He's going to click Grass Knot. I consistently forget that Torn gets Grass Knot. My Citrus Berry pops. Every time I have ever brought a bulky Mon that is weak to grass into a Torrentee, they bring Nasty Plot Grass Knot. And every single time, I consistently forget. I Whirlwind out just because I don't want to deal with that thing anymore. And I get in the Quillfish. In the first game, we ended up getting Arboliva, so on this turn, you're going to see me swap into Kilowattrel as he swaps into the Arboliva, and then he is going to make his next play after that as I swap into the actual Mon that was in on the Arboliva next. So I swap into Kilowattrel here, and I'm just going to double swap again because I don't want to take any rocks damage on anything. And I mean, he knows I'm Boots, which I don't remember if he saw in the original match, but I'm honestly okay with it. It doesn't matter. I'd rather him know my Boots than me take damage on anything. So I swap into Scizor, which is what I swapped in originally on the Arboliva as he clicks Giga Drain. So now we are basically caught up to where we want to be. And here he's going to swap into his Torrentee, and I am going to be U-turning here because I just do a shitload of damage. Nothing wants to take this hit, and that is proven right here because I basically did 90% to this fucking Torn with U-turn. Crazy. It's insane. It's absolutely insane that I did that much. We're going to bring in the Kilowattrel once again. And I'm just going to see if I can maybe get some damage off, force this thing out. I want to force this thing out into Treads, which is exactly what I do. As I hard swap into my Ting-Lu. Just predicting that because he cannot really touch my, what's it called? My Ting-Lu anyway. Like, I just take any hit, pretty much guaranteed. And I know that pretty easy. I know that he's going to be swapping out of here. I'm assuming he's going to swap into our Arboliva here, and which he does. I'm going to click Stealth Rocks here just because now I want to get my rocks up and force him to either spin or, just take some nice turn lane damage. He's going to Strength Sap again. I'm going to be swapping into Uxie because I'm assuming he's going to click Strength Sap, and I want to prevent him, I want to be able to get Scizor in for basically free up until this point. Here, I am just going to be clicking Knockoff on the Quillfish switch in. I didn't necessarily predict Quillfish here, but I figured Knockoff was a pretty safe play because everything still had its items, so it ends up working out for me. So I do some good, little bit of chip damage to this Quillfish. It is actually a Rain Dance set, which I think is super fucking cool. And I'm going to be U-turning out. I end up going Scizor here. And I just want to be able to, looking at the damage of where he's at, if he's just like max HP, I think is what it was, I pretty much always killed with Choice Banded Bullet Punch. Or it was a roll depending on his bulk. So for me, I have no reason to not click Bullet Punch here. At this point, we are back in the actual game and not in the recreation. He's going to click Liquidation. I am going to get the Bullet Punch off, and it does knock out the Quillfish, which is amazing for me. It means I take less damage on the Scizor, and Scizor is just so much more threatening now. Here, I believe he swaps into Archaludon, just knowing I'm Bullet Punch, and he probably lives the Bullet Punch, just with the bulk that he has in his what's it called? In his Archaludon. He's thinking long and hard about this, but he does end up swapping into the Archaludon here. I don't feel comfortable staying in here. At this point, I really need Scizor, and I don't think I need other things on my team. Yes, that is Body Slam on his Arcaludon. It was intended to be Body Press, but I think he just misgened it. Because I did speak to him after the game, funnily enough. So, that's where we are with that. But, yeah, no, this is a turn where I cannot afford to take damage on my Scizor at all, whatsoever. I need to keep this as healthy as possible. And so he's going to be clicking Electro Shot here. At this point, Ting-Lu has really done all I need from it. It doesn't need to really be here at this point. So I swap into the Ting-Lu in case he clicks that Electro Shot. Then obviously I soak it up, and I potentially live a hit on the following turn. If he just Dracos, then I probably live 2 because of the bulk I have. So, it's a win-win for me, I feel like. He does the Electro Shot, and I switch into Ting-Lu, so nothing happens on that turn either. This game has been full of, like, turns that do effectively nothing, which I think is hilarious. But here, we're gonna see that he likely swaps here. He's debating on whether or not to swap. At this point, I just click Earthquake. I have no reason not to. He does live Draco, or he does Draco. I actually live on exactly 1 HP, which is kind of funny. And I do get rid of the Arcaludon, which is massive for me. That means I don't have to bring in something else to soak up that hit, which is, again, like I said, great for me. He is going to Rapid Spin. I'm predicting that, as I think he is going. Like I said, I think he's going to Rapid Spin, and so I want to go into my Spectrier, and be able to block that Rapid Spin. Plus, I want to keep Ting-Lu, and I don't want his Treads to get basically a free spin and a free speed boost, because at that point, it's going to be very hard for me to deal with. At this point, I'm up 6-3, which is great, but Ting-Lu is basically dead at this point. And I bring in the Spectrier here on the Rapid Spin, which is great for me. And then, honestly, I really don't think he's going to stay in here. He does Earthquake, but at this point, I was like, you know what? I don't need Ting-Lu anymore. I understand I basically just got a little damage on Spectrier for nothing. If I swap, but I'm like, you know what? I wanted him to not get a speed boost with the what's it called? With the Treads, and that's exactly what I did. I'm just gonna be immediately swapping into my Ting-Lu, sacking it off, and just being able to get a free switch into something else, potentially Ogerpon, potentially something else, maybe the Scizor. But Ting-Lu does come out. I sack it off. Thank you, Ting-Lu. You absolute legend. I really appreciate it. The Earthquake comes out. Nothing happens, of course. Here, I start thinking, like I said, I start thinking about what I want to do here, and I just say, you know what, I gotta go Ogerpon here. Ogerpon is my best bet into this Treads, as long as he doesn't have, like, Supercell Slam or something, which, based on what I've seen from him, I don't think he's gonna have room for it, because then he just cannot touch Volt Absorb on Kilowattrel, so I assume that the last one is Ice Spinner. He is going to be clicking Earthquake here. He doesn't know that he's actually faster than me, but I know that he is, and so I know I had to make sure that I lived the hit to be able to Ivy Cudgel back and kill, which is exactly what happens here. So he is going to Earthquake. He does about 45%, which is about what I expected. Ivy Cudgel comes out, and bonk, down goes Iron Treads. Huge kill. Treads was actually a huge threat into my team, and I really did not want to deal with it. As the Torn comes in here, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know exactly what I want to do here. I feel like Ogerpon is not super useful at this point, just based on the 2 mons that are left, so I do sack off the Ogerpon here, which is unfortunate. Ogerpon, you actually did something for once, so thank you. I really appreciate it. You helped us a little bit against Collin last week, and you're helping us with the win here. So thank you for finally doing something consistently. But here, I'm just kind of figuring out what I want to do. What is my endgame here? I know that Spectre is my endgame, but I didn't know how I was going to be getting there. Paper Hater does come out. This Scizor has been popping off for me all game, and I'm so happy for it. Bullet Punch obviously knocks this out, and 2 Bullet Punches likely does knock out the Arbalva, even with Leftovers and Grassy Terrain healing. So I just figured, you know what, I just have to come in here and Bullet Punch. Here we see him swap into the Arbalva, which is pretty much exactly what I expected. I do Bullet Punch. It does a lot of damage, about 180 hit points. And we're going to be seeing here that he's going to get, with the leftovers and everything, he's going to get pretty much right up to there. So this is going to be a roll. I did not know that at the time, but I do know it now. So we're going to see a Bullet Punch come off, and he does live on 1 HP, which is okay, because you know what? I lived on 1 HP with my Ting-Lu earlier. He's going to live on 1 with his Arboliva now. It's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. It's a justified, it's justified. It works out. It's okay. But here we go. We're going to see him click Alluring Voice here. Because it does a little bit more in his eyes to the Scizor than Grassy, or than Giga Drain does, even with the Grassy Terrain boost because of the Quad Resist. So here I'm like, you know what? I don't want to take any more damage on my Scizor once again. So I'm going to hard swap into my Uxie here. Take a little bit of damage. It's okay, honestly. I didn't really need Uxie. It's not the most important mon to me in this game. We're going to see a Giga Drain. I'm going to knock off, get rid of that leftovers. I'm trying to basically create my endgame at this point. So here, I'm going to knock off. He's going to get basically back up to full because of the Giga Drain healing and the Grassy Terrain healing. And then I'm going to be just U-turning out into my Scizor because I'm assuming he's going to click Giga Drain again. I don't think he's going to predict that Alluring Voice here. And I'm going to be bringing in my Scizor. So the reason I did all of that was because A, I wanted to get rid of the -1 my Scizor had, and B, I wanted to facilitate my endgame with the Spectrier. So here, we're going to be bringing in the Scizor, take about 3% from that Giga Drain here. And at this point, Close Combat has no switch-in. Between this and the Terra Dragon now, Torn T, there's nothing that really wants to take it. He is going to be clicking Strength Sap just on the off chance I, like, U-turn or something. But Close Combat comes out, gets rid of the Arboliva, the biggest threat to my team. Like, honestly, Arboliva was a huge threat. And I'm kind of surprised he didn't Terra this in this game. If I remember correctly, he was Terra, I want to say Poison, or no, he was Terra Fairy on the Arboliva, if I remember correctly. So I guess it makes sense now, looking back on it. That way he doesn't become weak to Bullet Punch and he can continue to resist it and stuff. Here, he has to figure out what he wants to do in this endgame. He is just going to Hurricane here. He knows that, like, Close Combat would knock him out, but he has speeds, and as long as he lands his Hurricane, he's good. So Scizor goes down. Thank you, Scizor. You absolute legend in this game. You absolutely helped us in this game so much. You did so much damage, and I'm so happy. Up until this point, Scizor hasn't really done too much. But here, Scizor popped off. We bring in Spectrier here, and this game is pretty much over. Here, I'm kind of debating between a couple things. I'm debating between just Draining Kissing and attacking, or I'm debating between maybe Shadow Balling, because Shadow Ball does a little bit more than Draining Kiss does, even with the Terra Dragon. Or I'm also debating with Calm Mind. Calm Mind here, I ended up Calm Minding just because I now take 2 guaranteed Hurricanes from, like, an offensive Torn T, which is kind of, like a, not super offensive, but, like, kind of offensive Torn T, which is what he ends up doing. He does about 40% there, which is about what I expected. And then 2 Draining Kisses is going to knock out the Torn T. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I apologize for, for this. I am trying to get my stuff sorted out so I don't have to do post-coms. But, technology is a bitch and it sucks. There's no way around it, honestly. Technology sucks. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for week 4 against Sthkippy. We are on a 3-game win streak now. We do end off the game with a crit. Doesn't really matter, though. We killed anyway. Week 4 against Sthkippy, we take a nice 3-0 win, and I'm so happy. Next week, we have a really tough week ahead of us, but good luck and have fun to Sthkippy and the rest of his season, and I will see you guys in week 5. Peace out.